Hello, my name is Anita Morgun, this is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the daily segment. Today in the episode, largest Wildberries warehouse in Moscow region on fire for second day after drone attack. The second wave of the fuel crisis in Russia has begun. Tankers are stuck in ports. Trump is going to scale big joint military exercise with South Korea due to, as he said, very good relation with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Russian logistics continues to feel the effects of the war. 7 of Wildberries' 10 largest distribution centers in Russia are already out of service. This was confirmed by Ukraine Ministry of Defense. One of the company's latest facilities halted its operation following a large-scale drone attack on the Moscow region last night. In particular, the Wildberries logistics hub at the Koledino Industrial Park is no longer operating along with a warehouse in Domodedovo. It was the company's largest warehouse at around 250,000 square meters. As a result, Ukrainian strikes have affected a significant share of the Russian marketplace's largest logistic facilities. Ukrainian forces successfully struck the Russian military-industrial facility Kombinat Kamensky last night. This was confirmed by the General Staff of Ukraine. Satellite images indicate the destruction of 2 explosive and gunpowder production workshops, with 4 additional workshops severely damaged. This plant serves as a vital component of Russia's defense industry, manufacturing solid rocket fuel to multiple launch rocket systems. It also produces critical components for various missile systems and air-launched weapons used by Russian military. At the same time, Ukraine continues to disrupt Russia's missile strike system. In Crimea, the Ukrainian Navy destroyed a Bastion coastal missile system from which Russia had been launching Onyx and Zircon missiles at Ukraine. This means that the issue is no longer just about countering Russian attacks, but also about depriving the enemy of the ability to carry them out in the future. Ukraine is implementing its plan for long-range sanctions with more and more mid-range strikes. The strategic operation to block southern Russia will be expanded. President Volodymyr Zelensky stated this in his daily address. He emphasized that all is working to limit Russia's potential for war and bring negotiations closer.
The long-range sanctions plan is being implemented, and there are more and more of our mid-range strikes as well. In fact, we have succeeded in blocking off Russia's south, and we are expanding this strategic operation, quite rightly, in response to Russian strikes on our ports and our cities. And every level of pressure on Russia must bring that country, and its society above all, closer to the point where they want to end their war.
Ukraine continues to successfully apply long-range sanctions to reduce Russia's military potential. In the Samara region, on the night of the August 15, one of the key enterprises of Roscosmos, Progress Center, was hit. He was engaged in particular in the production of electronics for war. Another blow was delivered to the race of Russian missile carriers, which are used to attack Ukrainian cities. The airfield Savasleika is located at the distance of 700 kilometers from the border. How this can affect the war in our next story for you.
For the second month in a row, Ukraine's defense forces have been inflicting significant damage on the Russian economy every night. The strikes target key sectors: the military-industrial complex, oil refineries, and logistics. On the night of August 16th, following a large-scale drone attack on the Moscow region, a Wildberries warehouse in Domodedovo caught fire. The company's logistics hub at the Koledino Industrial Park also ceased operations.
Koledino is on fire. That's how Sunday morning started. This was the only warehouse where all our remaining goods were stored. There it is, burning. I don't even know why I'm going there. Until the very last moment, I believed this wouldn't happen, that at least one warehouse would survive. Unfortunately, Koledino is gone.
It was Wildberries' largest warehouse, covering 250,000 square meters, according to Ukraine's defense ministry. As of August 16th, Ukraine's defense forces had put 7 of the company's 10 largest logistics centers out of operation. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the marketplace is involved in supplying military products. Strikes on its warehouses and logistics network are therefore part of a broader campaign to damage the Russian economic infrastructure that underpins Moscow's war effort. Among the priority targets are oil refineries. After all, Russia needs vast amounts of fuel to continue the war. Following a temporary improvement, the fuel crisis has returned to at least 16 Russian regions. Reports of shortages and kilometer-long lines at petrol stations are coming from Moscow, Krasnodar, and Primorsky Krais, as well as the Voronezh, Rostov, Ryazan, and Saratov regions regions and other parts of Russia.
It was unexpected because things had improved and we had started to relax. But today there's already a problem. Look, the line behind me is growing right before my eyes. There's no petrol at many stations. Some only accept fuel cards. And where there is fuel, there's a queue. We're trying to fill up before a trip. This is already the second petrol station. There was absolutely nothing at the first one. This one seems to have fuel, but there's a queue. We've already spent an hour trying to fill up.
One of the most painful blows for Russia came on August 11th when the Orsk oil refinery in the Orenburg region was hit. According to Reuters, the refinery halted processing after the attack. Its capacity is around 115,000 barrels per day, and experts say repairs to some of the damaged units could take a considerable amount of time. Almost simultaneously, oil refining facilities in Tatarstan and Bashkortostan were hit. On August 10th, the strike targeted the Teneko complex in Nizhnekamsk. On August 13th, a fire was reported at the major Gazprom Neftekhim Salavat complex. The result is a major disruption to oil refining, and consequently, a large-scale fuel shortage. In Sochi, for example, Russians report waiting up to 8 hours for petrol, even at night.
Sochi, midnight. The queue is 3 kilometers long just to get to the petrol station, and all the pumps have broken down as well.
The fuel crisis is also hitting the resort industry. For Sochi and especially Anapa, Gelendzhik, and occupied Crimea, this has become a significant factor. It creates a vicious cycle. Refinery disruptions lead to fuel shortages, which affect road tourism, meaning fewer visitors for the resort industry. And that in turn means lower tax revenues and rental income.
I'm walking through Adler along the main street and everything is closed. There used to be a cafe here. Now the premises are up for rent. Another place is closed, here too, for rent. There's a sign saying the shop is closing.
Guys, we're in the area of Tsvetokhnaya Street. Look, these retail units are being vacated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 further down. I used to come here and buy sweets. Businesses are closing.
Closures of private businesses on such a scale also weigh on the economy. The government collects less tax revenue, meaning the budget deficit grows. All of this affects Russia's ability to continue financing the war. And to further undermine the Kremlin's military potential, Ukraine's defense forces successfully targeted one of the key enterprises within Russia's Roscosmos Space Corporation, the Progress Center, which is involved, among other things, in producing electronics for military purposes. It was located in the Samara region, around 900 kilometers from the Ukrainian border.
Everything we do against Russian military facilities or against infrastructure that in one way or another strengthens the Russian army constitutes legitimate military targets. And secondly, these operations are being carried out precisely to force Russia and Putin personally to sit down at the negotiating table.
President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine would continue expanding its strategic operation aimed at disrupting Russia's southern logistics and would further intensify long-range strikes and operations against Russian military logistics, reported by Natalia Husak, UATV News.
The effects of the fuel crisis are becoming increasingly visible in Russia. Gasoline shortages are already beginning to affect ordinary consumers. The second wave of the crisis is accompanied by huge queues at gas stations, and in some regions, gasoline has virtually disappeared. Fuel restrictions are returning even in areas where the situation had previously stabilized. According to the Russian Institute of Energy and Finance, fuel is currently available at less than 40% of the country's gas station. The situation is particularly dire in Yakutia, North Ossetia, Kalmykia, Mordovia, and the Astrakhan and Kurgan regions. But the problem is no longer limited to domestic fuel shortages. Even Moscow's attempts to compensate for the shortage through foreign supplies have so far been ineffective. Gasoline from India, Morocco, and other countries has not reached Russian gas stations yet. According to Russian industry portal Infotech, the fuel remains on tankers in the port of Murmansk. This is due to price disagreements. Oil companies are offering to sell imported gasoline for approximately 150,000 rubles per ton, while Russian regulators insist on maintaining domestic price targets. Meanwhile, the domestic market price of AI-92 was approximately 77,000 rubles per ton. Trading of imported gasoline from a specially created base in the Murmansk region has not yet begun. This creates a vicious circle. A shortage within Russia's easy-growing regions are forced to impose restrictions, and even gasoline purchased abroad cannot be quickly delivered to the Russian market. This demonstrates that the fuel crisis is becoming not only an economic, but also a logistical problem for the Kremlin. US President Donald Trump has ordered a significant reduction in joint US-South Korean military exercises. He explained his decision by citing their cost, stating that Washington is covering a significant portion of the expenses. He also cited a desire not to damage his good relations with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, as during his presidency, North Korea allegedly posed no threat to the United States and demonstrated respect for Washington.
Based on my very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, I am not happy with the fact that the United States has long ago agreed to participate in joint military exercises with South Korea. These exercises are not only costly, with much of these costs paid for by the United States of America, as usual, but send a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to a country that, as long as Donald J. Trump has been president, has been unthreatening and respectful. Donald Trump, President of the United States, on Truth Social.
That's it for today. I'm Anita Morgun. Thank you for watching the segment. We appreciate your time and effort a lot. Please also share, comment, subscribe to UATV. We got you covered on whatever tomorrow holds for all of us, always in Ukrainian perspective. Stay safe and see you soon.